Relationship. My beloved brothers and sisters, let me remind you today of a truth that many of us overlook. Relationship. Sin is not always about the words you speak or the actions you take with your hands. Relationship. Sometimes the greatest danger is hidden in the very places your feet choose to carry you. Where you sit, where you walk, where you spend your time. Relationship. These environments are constantly shaping your heart and mind. If you value your faith and want it to remain strong, relationship. There are certain places you must never enter. Every step you take has weight. Relationship. Every direction you walk either draws you closer to God or pushes you further away from Him. Relationship. Do not be deceived into thinking that simply being there is harmless because your environment influences your soul in ways you may not even realize. Relationship. So pay attention, because today I want to share with you 7 powerful lessons about the kinds of places you must never enter if you truly value your faith. Relationship. 1. Never step into places of open sin. When you knowingly step into a place where the commands of God are being ignored, relationship, you are not just visiting a location. You are walking into danger for your faith. Think about it carefully. Relationship. You enter a gathering where alcohol is being poured as if it were water, where people laugh loudly without any sense of modesty. Relationship. Where shameful acts are seen as entertainment, and where those who disobey God are treated like role models. At first, you may say to yourself, relationship, I will not drink, I will not dance, I will not take part. But what you may not realize is that by simply being present, relationship, your heart is quietly learning to accept and normalize what should never be accepted. The human heart is like soft clay. Relationship, it is shaped by the environment it is placed in. If you keep your heart in clean and pure surroundings, it will grow firm upon goodness. Relationship. But if you place it in an environment of corruption and sin, even if you don't act, the clay begins to crack and weaken. Over time, relationship, you will find that you no longer feel disturbed when God's laws are broken in front of you. You no longer feel the need to turn away. Relationship, that is how faith dies. Not always through a loud rebellion, but often through a slow process of desensitization. Relationship, ask yourself how many people today can sit in a room filled with indecency and feel nothing. That nothing is the most dangerous thing. Relationship. Because when your heart loses the ability to dislike sin, it has already taken a step towards embracing it. Relationship. This is why the Prophet warned us that faith requires at the very least that you dislike wrongdoing in your heart. A relationship, even if you cannot change it with your words or actions. But if you place yourself willingly in environments where sin is celebrated, then even that minimum level of faith begins to disappear. Protect yourself from such surroundings. Do not say, I am strong. Relationship, it will not affect me. Even the strongest person is influenced by their environment. Relationship, if you take a clean white garment and place it in a room filled with smoke, it will eventually smell of smoke, whether you wanted it or not. Relationship, in the same way, if you place your heart in an atmosphere of disobedience, it will absorb the filth of that environment. Faith is like a delicate plant. Relationship, it cannot grow in polluted soil. It needs clean surroundings, fresh water, and pure air. So, my brothers and sisters, relationship, protect your heart by protecting your footsteps. Do not allow your presence to become a silent approval of sin. If you value your Iman, relationship, distance yourself from places where disobedience becomes normal and where God is forgotten. Because once your heart adapts to sin, relationship, pulling it back to purity becomes far more difficult. 2. Never step into gatherings of gossip and backbiting. Relationship. One of the easiest traps a believer can fall into is sitting in a gathering where people talk about others behind their backs. At first, relationship, it may seem harmless. A friend says, did you hear what happened to so-and-so? And before you know it, the whole group is laughing, mocking. Relationship, and tearing apart the honor of someone who isn't even there to defend themselves. In such moments, many of us think, I did not say anything. Relationship, so I am safe. But in reality, even your silence can be counted as agreement. By remaining in that circle, relationship, you have chosen to be a participant in a sin that is serious enough to destroy your good deeds. Relationship, God describes gossip and backbiting in the Quran with a shocking image. He asks, relationship, would any of you like to eat the flesh of his dead brother? You would hate it. Think about that for a moment. Relationship. Imagine a lifeless body of your own brother before you, and someone invites you to take a bite. You would shiver in disgust and say never. Relationship. Yet God says this is exactly what happens when you backbite or when you sit and enjoy others doing it. It is not just a bad habit. Relationship. It is a spiritual crime that turns you into a person who feeds on the dignity of others. Relationship. The danger of these gatherings is not only in the words spoken, but in the effect they have on your heart. Relationship. When you sit with people who constantly gossip, you begin to see it as normal. Your ears grow used to hearing the worst about others. Relationship. Your tongue becomes restless until it joins in, and your heart starts to find pleasure in hearing people's faults. Relationship. And soon you realize that instead of fixing your own flaws, you are wasting your time discussing the flaws of others. Gossip is a thief. Relationship. It steals your time, your energy, your sincerity, and even your faith. Think about the friendships you keep. Relationship. The Prophet taught us that a person is upon the way of their close friends. So be careful who you choose to sit with. Relationship. If you spend time with those who love to spread gossip, you will soon become like them. And even if you resist relationship, the filth of their words will stain your heart. On the other hand, if you sit with people who remind you of God, who speak good words, relationship, who encourage you to learn and improve, then their company will elevate you. So ask yourself, my beloved brothers and sisters, relationship. What kind of gatherings do you sit in? Do you leave a group feeling inspired and closer to God? Or do you leave with a head full of other people's faults? Relationship. If it is the second, then you are in danger. Walk away from such circles. It may feel awkward at first, but it will save your faith, protect your heart. Relationship. Protect your tongue and protect your good deeds by avoiding gatherings where gossip and backbiting are the main entertainment. Relationship. Because on the day of judgment, you will find that the people you mocked have taken your good deeds as compensation, leaving you empty-handed. 3. Relationship. Never step into places that glorify evil. There are places that are carefully designed to pull your heart away from God. Relationship. These are environments where everything revolves around desire, entertainment, and forgetting your purpose in life. Think about nightclubs, parties, relationship, and concerts where modesty is thrown out the window, where music is so loud that it drowns out any thought of prayer or remembrance. Relationship. And where people feel free to indulge in whatever temptation comes their way. These places are not neutral. Relationship. They are engineered to feed the ego and silence the conscience. When you step into them, you're entering an atmosphere where evil is not just present. It is celebrated. Some people try to excuse themselves by saying, I will not participate. I am just going for fun, just for the atmosphere. Relationship. Just to be with friends. But what many forget is that Shaitan does not need you to commit the biggest sin on the first day. Relationship. He only needs a small opening. One night of exposure to such an environment can plant seeds of desire in your heart that slowly grow over time. Relationship. You may not drink that night, but you start craving the atmosphere. You may not commit indecency that night, relationship, but you remember the feeling and want to return. This is exactly how the enemy works. He takes you step by step, relationship, small compromise after small compromise, until you are trapped in something you never imagined yourself doing. God warns us clearly in the Quran. Relationship. Do not follow the footsteps of the devil. Notice the word footsteps. The path to destruction is rarely sudden. It is almost always gradual. Relationship. First you listen to the music, then you attend the party, then you feel comfortable around sin, and eventually you become part of it. Relationship. A person does not fall into a pit by jumping. It usually happens by walking closer and closer until they lose their balance. Relationship. Now think about the effect these environments have on your faith. In a place where the name of God is never mentioned, relationship, where people lose themselves in intoxication, where modesty is mocked, how can your heart remain soft and connected to your Creator? Relationship. Even if you enter with the intention of staying pure, the constant bombardment of sights, sounds, and temptations leave scars on the soul. Relationship. Just like standing in heavy smoke leaves your clothes smelling of it, relationship, being in an environment filled with sin leaves your heart stained whether you realize it or not. Ask yourself honestly, what do you gain from such places? Do you leave them feeling closer to God, or do you leave with a heavier heart, distracted mind, and weakened willpower? The answer is clear. Faith cannot survive in an atmosphere designed to kill it. Your heart is like a lamp. If you place it in a storm, the flame will eventually be blown out. Protect that flame by never stepping into places that glorify evil. Relationship, even for a moment. My beloved brothers and sisters, remember this truth. Fun that pulls you away from God is not fun at all. It is a slow poison. Relationship. True joy is not found in flashing lights or loud music, but in the peace that comes from a heart connected to its Creator. Do not sell your faith for a temporary moment of entertainment. Relationship. Value your soul enough to say no to the doors of evil and instead choose the places where your heart is remembered by the angels and loved by God. 4. Relationship. Never step into friendships that drag you to sin. Sometimes the most dangerous place you can step into is not a nightclub, not a gathering, relationship, not even a sinful environment. It is the circle of friends you surround yourself with. People often think of places as buildings or locations, relationship, but in reality your friends create an atmosphere around you every time you sit with them. The people you spend time with shape your thinking, relationship, your habits and your values more than you realize. If you want to know the direction of your life, look closely at the direction of your friendships. If your companions constantly invite you towards wrongdoing, if they laugh at your principles, relationship, if they mock faith and belittle those who try to live a life of purity, then every time you sit with them, you are stepping into spiritual danger. A poisonous friendship is like a slow drip of poison in your drink. It does not kill you instantly, but over time it weakens you until you cannot stand. You may think, I am strong. I can resist their influence. But remember, no matter how strong a tree is, if it is surrounded by fire, relationship, eventually the flames will reach it. The Quran tells us about the regret of people on the day of judgment who will cry out, woe to me. I wish I had never taken that person as a friend. Relationship, he led me away from the reminder after it had come to me. Imagine the pain of realizing too late that the people you trusted, laughed with, relationship, and shared your life with were the very ones who pulled you away from God on that day. Excuses will not help. You cannot say, relationship, I was just trying to fit in. You cannot say, I did not want to be left out. Every friendship was your choice, relationship, and every choice will be accounted for. Think about how easily we are influenced by those around us. If you spend enough time with people who swear, relationship, you will begin to pick up their language. If you spend enough time with people who waste hours in entertainment, you will begin to waste your hours as well. And if you spend enough time with people who sin openly, relationship, eventually you will not only feel comfortable with it, you may join them. Human beings are social creatures and we become like the company we keep. Relationship. The Prophet gave us a powerful example. A good friend is like a seller of perfume. Even if you do not buy anything, you will still enjoy the fragrance. Relationship, a bad friend is like a blacksmith. Even if you do not touch the fire, you will still smell of smoke. Now ask yourself honestly, relationship, who are your closest friends? Do they remind you of prayer when you forget? Do they stop you when you are about to do wrong? Relationship, do they encourage you to learn, to grow, to purify your character? Or do they push you into situations where your faith is weakened? Relationship, where sin feels normal and where disobedience becomes a form of entertainment. Relationship, the answer to that question will tell you everything about the health of your Iman. Do not underestimate the power of friendship. Relationship, many people were destroyed not because they were evil themselves, but because they allowed themselves to be led by the wrong people. Relationship, and many others were saved not because they were perfect. Relationship, but because they surrounded themselves with good friends who reminded them of God when they were weak. So my beloved brothers and sisters, relationship, never step into friendships that drag you into sin. Be brave enough to walk away from people who harm your faith. Relationship, even if it means being alone for a while. Loneliness with God is better than companionship with those who lead you to destruction. And remember this, relationship Your friends in this world will either be your witnesses for you on the day of judgment or your witnesses against you. Relationship. Choose them wisely, because every time you step into their company, you are shaping your eternal future. 6. Relationship. Never step into the doors of pride and arrogance. Relationship. Among the most dangerous places a believer can step into are not physical locations filled with music or sin, relationship, but the hidden doors of pride and arrogance that open in the heart. Sometimes people walk into gatherings not because they want to learn or to benefit, relationship, but simply to be seen. They want others to notice their clothing, their wealth, their position, their beauty, or their status. Relationship. And once pride takes root, even the purest of places can become poisoned. You could walk into a mosque, a wedding, relationship, or a classroom with the right intention and be rewarded by God, relationship. But you could also walk into those very same places with arrogance in your heart and be destroyed by it. Arrogance is not about what you wear, relationship, what you own, or how you look. It is about how you see yourself compared to others. When you enter a place and think, relationship, I am better than these people. Or when you look down on someone because of their clothing, their race, their background, or their wealth, relationship, you have already stepped into a dangerous zone. Remember, arrogance was the very reason why the devil was cursed. When God commanded him to bow to Adam, relationship, he refused and said, "Hey, I am better than him." That single moment of arrogance caused him to lose his place in paradise forever. Relationship. One thought of superiority destroyed him. And the same disease can destroy us if we allow it to grow in our hearts. Relationship. The scary thing about arrogance is how subtle it can be. It does not always appear as loud boasting. Relationship. Sometimes it appears as a quiet feeling of being above others. You may not say it, but you feel it. You may not show it, but you think it. Relationship. And if this disease grows unchecked, it blinds you from recognizing truth. Because pride does not allow a person to admit mistakes or accept guidance. Relationship. Many people miss opportunities to come closer to God, not because they lack knowledge, but because they are too proud to admit they were wrong. Relationship. Pride blocks the path of repentance, and without repentance, the door to forgiveness remains closed. Relationship. Think about how pride changes the way we behave in everyday life. Relationship. A proud person refuses to greet others first because they believe it lowers their status. Relationship. A proud person refuses to ask for help even when they are in need because they believe it makes them look weak. Relationship. A proud person refuses to forgive because they think forgiveness makes them look small. And in doing so, they step into the exact trap that destroys hearts. Relationship. The Prophet warned that anyone who has even the smallest amount of arrogance in their heart will not enter paradise. Relationship. Even an atom's weight of pride is enough to keep you out. Now ask yourself, why do we enter certain places? Relationship. Do we enter them to please God or to be noticed by people? Do we attend gatherings for the sake of knowledge and growth? Relationship. Or do we go just to be seen in photographs and admired for how we look? Relationship. The answer reveals whether we have stepped through the door of humility or the door of arrogance. Relationship. The cure to this is to constantly remind yourself of your true reality. No matter how wealthy, beautiful, or powerful you may feel. Relationship. You are nothing without the mercy of God. You came from dust and you will return to dust. All the things you boast about, your money, your looks, relationship, your success can disappear in an instant. The same people who admire you today may not even remember your name tomorrow, but God never forgets. Relationship. And He raises those who are humble while He humiliates those who are proud. So my beloved brothers and sisters, guard your heart. Relationship. Never walk into gatherings with the intention of showing off. Do not let your clothing, your possessions, relationship, or your knowledge become a weapon of arrogance. If you find pride creeping in, fight it by humbling yourself. Greet people first, sit with the poor, relationship, serve others without expecting recognition, and constantly remind yourself that all good you have is from God alone. A relationship, because every time you choose humility, you are stepping away from the door of destruction and walking into the door of mercy. 7th step, relationship, instead into the houses of God. After learning about all the places we must avoid, it is important to remind ourselves of where we should be. Relationship. Because life is not only about avoiding sin, it is also about actively seeking environments that protect and strengthen our faith. Relationship. And the most beloved of these environments are the houses of God, the mosques and the gatherings of knowledge and remembrance. Relationship. If the doors of sin are traps that drain your soul, then the doors of God's houses are fountains that refill it. Every step you take towards the mosque, relationship. Every moment you sit in a circle of learning, every second you spend in a place where God is remembered is a step towards peace, mercy, relationship, and eternal success. Think about how different these places are from the ones we spoke about earlier. In places of sin, your heart feels heavy. Relationship, distracted, restless. You leave them with guilt or emptiness. But when you step into a mosque, relationship, when you sit on the floor and listen to the recitation of God's words, when you hear reminders that soften your heart, relationship, you leave with a sense of calm that no amount of entertainment can ever give you. The world outside may be full of noise, but inside the house of God, relationship, you find silence that speaks directly to your soul. The Prophet told us that the most beloved places to God are the mosques. Why? Relationship. Because these are the spaces where His name is honored, where His worship is established. Relationship. And where His servants gather not for worldly gain, but for His pleasure. Even if your home is comfortable, even if your heart feels lazy. Relationship. Do not deprive yourself of the reward of walking to the mosque. Every step you take is recorded as a good deed. Relationship. Every moment you sit waiting for prayer is counted as worship. Relationship. Even the simple act of greeting someone with peace in the house of God is an act that lifts your rank. Relationship. It is not only the mosque that counts as a house of God. Any gathering where people come together to remember Him, to learn His guidance. Relationship. To encourage one another towards good carries the same blessing. Angels surround such gatherings. Relationship. Mercy descends upon them and hearts are filled with tranquility. Contrast that with the gatherings of gossip, music and sin we spoke about earlier. Relationship. One destroys your Iman quietly, the other builds it steadily. One steals your time, the other multiplies your reward. One leaves you empty. Relationship. The other fills you with purpose. My beloved brothers and sisters, do not underestimate the power of these small choices. Relationship. You might think it is only one prayer at the mosque or it is only one lecture. I can skip it. Relationship. But those who keep stepping into the houses of God regularly find that their lives change in ways they cannot explain. Their hearts become softer. Relationship. Their patience grows stronger. Their sins become fewer. And their connection with God deepens. The company of believers around them inspires them. Relationship and the feeling of being in a place where God is honored strengthens their resolve. On the other hand, relationship. Those who neglect the houses of God slowly find their hearts becoming harder. They find prayer becoming a burden, remembrance becoming rare, relationship, and sin becoming easier. This is not a coincidence. It is the natural result of the doors they chose to walk through. Relationship. You cannot expect your Iman to grow if you only water it once in a while. Just as a plant needs sunlight and water to thrive. Relationship. Your faith needs constant nourishment from environments filled with remembrance and worship. So step instead into the houses of God. Relationship. Make the mosque your second home. Fill your week with circles of knowledge and remembrance. Relationship. Seek the company of people who remind you of God instead of those who make you forget Him. Because at the end of the day, relationship, the places you choose to step into are shaping your destiny. If you love your Iman, then trade the doors of sin for the doors of mercy and watch how your life transforms. My beloved brothers and sisters, relationship, life is a journey made up of steps. Each day you are walking, sometimes without even realizing it, towards either the mercy of God or towards regret. Relationship, every door you choose to walk through has an effect on your soul. The gatherings of gossip harden the heart. The places of sin steal your purity. Relationship, the circles of arrogance inflate your ego and the friendships of heedlessness drag you down. On the other hand, the mosque is relationship, the gatherings of knowledge. Relationship, the company of the sincere and the circles of remembrance give life to your faith and keep your heart soft and connected to God. The truth is simple. Relationship, you cannot expect your Iman to remain strong if you keep feeding it with environments that kill it. Relationship, You cannot hope for peace while sitting in the very places that disturb your soul. Relationship, and you cannot expect the mercy of God if you are constantly comfortable in the presence of disobedience. Protecting your Iman means protecting your footsteps. Relationship. Sometimes the strongest act of faith is not in doing something but in refusing to enter a place that will harm you. Walking away is also worship when you are walking away from sin. So ask yourself today, where do my feet take me? What doors am I stepping into? Relationship every week. Am I closer to the houses of God or to the gatherings of Shayan? Am I among those whose faith grows with every step, or among those who slowly destroy it without realizing? These are questions only you can answer. Remember, your Iman is your most valuable treasure. Guard it more carefully than your wealth, your home, or your reputation. Relationship, because when this world ends, and it will end, it is your Iman that will determine your place in the next life. Do not sell it cheaply for a moment of fun, a few minutes of gossip, or the comfort of bad company. Every step counts. And sometimes one step can change your eternity. So choose wisely. Relationship. Close the doors that lead to regret and walk firmly into the doors that lead to mercy, peace, and forgiveness. May God make us among those who walk with purpose, who avoid the traps of Shayan. Relationship, and who choose every step with the awareness that it brings us closer to